So hello and yes, welcome back to another video, guys. This is a bit of a strange one today. This is me talking about my favourite trilogies of films. Why? Well, number one, all the videos on this channel lately have been movie reviews and unboxings, and I want to show you guys that's more than what this channel is. This channel is all about me talking about all sorts of films, because films is my greatest passion. And I know quite a few types of films and whatnot. So I like coming on here and talking about my favourite films. And yeah, it's, as I say, it's just a heat of the moment video. I thought, let's do it. But before we get started, favourite trilogies films. I feel like every film in these trilogies have to be good to make my list. So if you get two films which are great, like a good example is The Godfathers. The first two films are classics, but then you hit the third one, and I'm not a fan of the third one, so I couldn't include The Godfather for that reason. Same with Mad Max. You've got the first two, which are great. Then you've got the third one. Can't put it in because of that. So I'm only looking at trilogies which I think are perfect. Not in terms of every film being great, but in terms of every film being good. To a good standard. So anyway, I'm going to get the two obvious ones out of the way with first. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another 5 really solid trilogies of films to look at. So the first one up is going to be the Middle-earth Lord of the Rings films. Not the Hobbits. I only liked one of them, really. But the Lord of the Rings films are great. You've got Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. I love it because it's one humongous story. Each film is like 3 hours plus long, especially if you watch the extended ones, which is definitely the way to go on these. So you're basically watching this whole 9-hour epic adventure. And I think it's incredible. It's fantastic. It's got some incredible effects for the time. I love the fact that these were filmed in the late 90s. I love the fact that they were out in Australia, going out on, they were actually going out on set doing a lot of filming. Whereas the Hobbit films really let us down because they were pretty much all done in a big studio hangar, and I didn't like that. Because, don't get me wrong, sometimes when I film in big hangars and studios, it still looks good with the CGI, like the most recent Jungle Book. But the Hobbits felt very rushed because they were trying to get them out one a year. They should have gone out on location if that was their goal, to get them out one a year. But anyway, with this trilogy, it's fantastic. Every film, it is one continuous story. You look at it as a whole, and it's incredible. But at the same time, you can pick certain things out of each one. Fellowship of the Ring is a very innocent film. It's great. You spend the first half of the film going from the Shire to making the Fellowship itself, and then of course the second half is the Fellowship beginning their adventure. The second film, you've got so much going on. You've got the Tree People, which are awesome, and you've got so much cool stuff going on. And the third one is just an epic film. The Lord of the Rings films, arguably the most perfect trilogy, if not for this one. The original Star Wars. Yeah, I know there's 8 Star Wars episodes at the minute, and then we've got the 2 spin-offs now. So it's technically 10 Star Wars films now. Or even 11 if you want to include the animated Clone Wars film, because that was shown in cinemas for a brief time. But fans are quite quick to split the Star Wars films up anyway. You've got the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, and now we've got the sequel trilogy yet to be complete. And at the minute, for me, the sequel trilogy, if Episode 9 is good, would fit in this list, because I really like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Can't put a prequel trilogy in here, because I only really liked Revenge of the Sith. Although I have a bit of a soft spot for Phantom Menace with my Star Wars biasness. But the original trilogy of Star Wars is perfection, in a nutshell. The first film is, in my opinion, my favourite film of all time. It's a classic. Everything about it works. It is a perfect film. Empire is, in my opinion again, but arguably the best sequel ever. It almost tops the first one. For a lot of people, it does top the first one. And then the third one is an epic conclusion. I love the third one because of the end fight. Again, I know the Ewoks and whatnot are a bit silly, but it's kind of cool to see them beat up stormtroopers at the same time. And the fact that you're darting between that and a space battle to Luke v. the Emperor and Vader, it's incredible. And then there's so much emotion that goes into this. It's a family thing, it is. With Vader being Luke's father, and then him coming to realise that Leia's his sister. This trilogy has so many classic moments in it, from It's a Trap to I Am Your Father. Incredible trilogy, incredible. Okay, so now we're moving on to the other ones. The first one up, some people are probably not going to agree with me on, which is fine. There's one Marvel trilogy of films which I wanted to put in this list. I couldn't put the Avengers in here because I wasn't a big fan of Age of Ultron. I couldn't put Thor in here because of the first two Thor films. I couldn't put Iron Man in here because of Iron Man 2. But I could put Captain America in here. The Winter Soldier, the second Captain America film, is still one of my favourite Marvel films. It is probably my favourite Marvel film. Civil War is the Avengers film that Age of Ultron should have been. And the first film, the first Avenger, it's just so innocent. It's so fun. I love the World War II theme. They captured it really well for a superhero film. I love the villain, Red Skull. He's great. Hugo Weaving does a fantastic job as Red Skull. The Winter Soldier is a perfect film, really. The plot twist in it is great. The action is incredible. The Russo brothers done a fantastic job with that film with the action. It's the best modern spy film you're going to see. And Civil War was, again, the thing is, this feels like a World War II film. The second one feels like a spy film. And then the third, Captain America, is your all-out superhero film. You've also got Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man in there. You've got the debut of Tom Holland as Spider-Man. There's just so many reasons to love each of these three films. Again, they're not perfect. This one and Civil War, in my opinion, have their issues, but they're still good films. But The Winter Soldier is fantastic. But talking about perfect superhero trilogies, we have to talk about The Dark Knight. We have to talk about The Dark Knight. Dark Knight is a great trilogy of films. It's weird that I'm talking so positively about DC, because their DC EU universe has just not been going well at all. I mean, I didn't like Batman v Superman, I didn't like Suicide Squad, and I didn't like Justice League. So it's weird to go back to these films and brag about them. But yeah, this is the Christopher Nolan trilogy, which started coming out in 2006, I believe. Was that the first one? I can't see a year on here. Anyway, mid-2000s, these films. These were the ones which came just before the DC EU. Christopher Nolan done a fantastic job. Christopher Nolan is possibly the best director. He's done a fantastic job. I wouldn't say the casting is amazing in this. Like, Christian Bale, I personally actually prefer Ben Affleck, I'm not going to lie. Michael Caine's great in it. But of course, Heath Ledger as the Joker is incredible. The first film's great. I love the Ra's al Ghul. I love the fact they didn't just jump on the Joker straight away like the original 80s Batman films did. They were like, oh, we got to use the Joker, and then they kill him off. It's like, that was a clever move. I like the fact they actually started with Batman, a proper origin villain for Batman with Ra's al Ghul. They got Liam Neeson, fantastic. Second one, knocked it out of the park. Heath Ledger as Joker, incredible. Best Joker ever. There's no argument to be had there. And I like the fact they kept him alive, because this Batman's big villain, we got to bring him back. But then, unfortunately, Heath Ledger passing away, they couldn't do that. So they get in one of my all-time favourite actors, Tom Hardy, to play Bane. Mixed feelings on Bane, but I do kind of like him. He's unique. He's a lot more memorable than half Marvel's villains, so you got to give him some credit. The Batman Dark Knight trilogy, incredible. This is a good one. Planet of the Apes, the new ones. So Planet of the Apes, we've got these new three, which, again, I'm not sure when the first one came out. I've got the other two in my room. I just thought I'd bring one out with me. So we got War here, the last one. So Andy Serkis, who is potentially my favourite actor ever, decided to bring this trilogy back. He plays Caesar in it. It's based off... These films started coming out in the 60s. You had 5. And then there was a Mark Wahlberg one in 2001, which everyone's trying to forget. They're praying to forget. But yeah, the issue with the original 5 is that the first 2 are really the only good ones. I remember when the first one came out, I remember being very optimistic about it, because I thought it looked good, and I was thinking, I hope this doesn't go the way the originals went. And it didn't. It done the opposite. It stayed at the same level of excellent. The first one was really good. I fell in love with the first one. The second one, Dawn, was the weakest, I thought. That one took a little bit of a dip. There wasn't as much storytelling going on there. But then War came back so strong. This is an incredible film. There's so much heart in this film. The storytelling in this one is fantastic. The directing in it is great. The cinematography in this one is beautiful. This is the best looking film because they went out on site and filmed a lot of it. It just looked incredible. Of course, the CGI on the monkeys, the apes had improved. This one just is awesome. But I think my favourite is the first still because I just have a bit sentimental feelings with that one because I remember going to see it and just really enjoying it, going to see it with my grandparents. And my grandparents didn't even like Planet of the Apes. I mean, but they said they wanted to see the first one, Rise. So we went to see it. So yeah, it was great trilogy, great trilogy. This is one of the only times I'll say it, but they improved upon the originals. That doesn't happen often in films. I mean, not that you get loads of reboots nowadays, but in terms of remakes, like they remade The Italian Job a couple years ago, that's a good example, and it's complete rubbish compared to the original. They remade Ghostbusters, awful compared to the original. Actually better, I believe. So this is going to be a bit of a controversial one, because some people are going to say that's not a trilogy, but I'm going to class it as a trilogy. Anyway, I'm going to hold up Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, I'm talking about the 3 Gorovinsky films. Gorovinsky is the guy who brought us Pirates of the Caribbean. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have got these films. And he done the first 3. Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, and At World's End. He left because he knew that was a complete story. At the end of The World's End, Jack is left in the same spot he starts at. Barbossa's got the pearl again. Elizabeth and Will are off. Well, she's married Will. Will is now captain of the Flying Dutchman with his father. It's the end of the story. Disney did bring it back, of course, with Stranger Tides, and it wasn't great. And then, of course, they sunk the ship even more with Salazar's Revenge, because that was an awful film. But the original 3 are great. The first one, Curse of the Black Pearl, is one of my favourite films. I absolutely love it. Dead Man's Chest is a great follow-up. It's a proper pirate fantasy film. It's the best one you're going to get because you have a giant octopus in it. It's awesome. Also, Bill Nighy as Davy Jones is one of the best villain castings ever. And then At World's End, it just feels like a great conclusion to have Barbossa back as a goodie. And it's a really great storytelling again. And also, they have some of the best special effects in ever, I feel. Especially Dead Man's Chest with Davy Jones and the Kraken. But anyway, last trilogy that I'm going to talk about. And guilty pleasure. Here we go. Toy Story. That's right. I know, I'm going to talk about an animated film. How embarrassing. I looked through my animated films, and unfortunately, look at a lot of the classic Disney ones, and there isn't trilogies. Like, for cinema releases. I mean, there is a Lion King 2 and a Lion King 3, but 2 and 3 were purely made for TV. Disney have never got to that trilogy yet, believe it or not. They've only ever had 2 sequels. That's for The Rescuers and Fantasia. Not even The Lion King got a cinematic sequel. They do have their 3rd sequel coming up this year in their 80 years of making films. Wreck-It Ralph 2. And I believe in 2020, Frozen 2. So there'll be 4 soon. But that's the good thing about Disney. They don't go overboard. But Pixar, they love doing their sequels. Doesn't work very often. I mean, we've only got one other trilogy from Pixar at the minute, and that is Cars, and that died after the first one, but Toy Story kept going strong. Really good. First one's great, classic, can't touch it. Second one is the weakest, but it's still fun, really good. The third one is just heartbreaking. It's some of the best animated storytelling I've seen. It's an emotional film on every level. But anyway, there you go. They're the trilogies in my mind which I managed to pick out, which I think are good from start to finish. Not saying they're perfect, other than Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Them 2 are pretty perfect. But yeah, there's my my puppet trilogies. So yeah, there might be some more out there if I really dig into my collection. And again, it's all my opinion here, guys. So for those of you who are going to say, like, where's Jurassic Park? Where's Back to the Future? You know, there might have been a film in there which I just didn't like enough to put in my list. But anyway, thank you so much for watching as always, guys. Please hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave a message, and I'll see you guys next time for another video. Bye-bye.